Graham Vincent, violin maker and musician, making sound posts. I do make my own, probably a slightly unusual way of doing it, but this is how I tend to do it anyway. These are the only tools I use. There we go. Block plane, gouge, and a knife, believe it or not. So whatever material I'm using for the sound post, the first thing I do is I will split them so that the sound post has got the grain as close as it can be to running straight within the piece of timber. And then that's the finished one. Next thing I do is I plane one flat onto one side, like so. So although I'm planing it now, it is still going to be pretty close to the grain, and visually I can correct the grain as I go if necessary to sort of keep it straight and true. And then putting that side down against my little bench stop, I then plane a second face. So I've now got two roughly square faces, and that's all they need to be. I use this little tool for measuring in this situation. So yeah, they're about 9-10. That's about 9 or 10 mil at the moment. So I now plane this down to about 6.5, 7, and I do that just by eye, and then just check it as I go. So it's just under 7, about 6.5. You know what? I'm just gonna make that a little bit less aggressive. There we go. That's much better. There's a big fly buzzing around in the workshop today. That's annoying. Right, so down to about 6.25 at the moment, and then make it square. Now, I do have a lathe. I do have various ways that I could turn this, but I like just making these on the bench quickly. And if you're only making one or two at a time, which is what I normally do, then quite frankly, this is faster than setting the lathe up and everything. 6.5, 6.25, 6.25. It's actually down to 6 at that end, but that's fine. Let's take a little bit more off there. Right, so we now have just over 6 mil. Right. I then have this gouge, which I use for the next stage. Lovely old, I don't think it's Marples, although the handle, it looks like a Marples one, but it's got a 6 mil internal radius, pretty close to 6 mil anyway. And then you can see where this is going to go. I mean, I then get in there and it's funny doing this for the camera. Of course, suddenly I feel incredibly clumsy, and it's not going at all well. And normally this is absolutely smooth and a beautiful operation, but at the moment it looks like, why on earth would anyone do it that way? But in actuality, I'm nearly there now. I use this little bench stop quite a lot, actually. It's a useful thing to have on the bench. God, there's a buzzy fly in the workshop today. You can probably hear that. It's really annoying. Now, because I started off with a square piece, which was about 6.25, I can take it down really without measuring anything until I've made it pretty round and the flats have all but gone. And then if I am particularly keen to make it a very specific measurement, I can start measuring everything, or in all honesty, I can just carry on like I'm going to do it by eye, and then just confirm at the end. Now, so what you end up with is a soundpost made out of the material that you want, with a very straight and true grain running within that. There's no short grain because you've actually split it rather than turned it or sawn it or whatever to get it to this shape. Because the grain is running pretty much vertically, it means actually trimming it like this is really easy, because you're not going against the grain anywhere, because it's all just straight grained. And obviously you select, straight grained pieces of timber. This is a reclaimed piece. It's going with a violin, which is made from the same material. It was an old shelf in a golf club, believe it or not. The clubhouse had been built just over 100 years ago. Obviously it was mature, or fairly mature timber when it went in. So it's a nice old piece of wood. So what we got, it's about the 6 mark. That's near enough as far as I'm concerned. Down at 5, or just over 6. Down about 5.8. And there you have it. So there it is. Quickly done. Slightly rough, but this is handmade. One thing you get is that lovely sheen. I don't know if you can see that. You see that sort of sheen that you get with blade cut timber that you don't get with sanded timber. I mean, a lot of people say sanding dulls the sound. I don't know if that's true or not, but sanding slows things down as far as I'm concerned. So that is how I make soundposts, quickly made by hand. I can guarantee it's a really straight grain following the directly down the post, because of the way I've split it before planing, and then sort of cleaning it up with a gouge. There we go. Well, I hope that was of some interest. I'll carry on putting the odd little video like this up anyway. Talk soon. Cheers.